Welcome to SATV News. This is Tahsina Yasmin with our headlines. Chief Advisor reads out July declaration. The declaration aspires for state constitutional recognition of 2024 uprising. Thousands join rallies marking July Uprising Day today, a year since former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina's ouster. Bangladesh won't let fascism supplant democracy again, says Tariq Rahman. Country won't be allowed to become a subservient state again. Chief Advisor Dr. Muhammad Yunus today read out the July Declaration, a crucial political document finalized by the interim government in presence of all political parties. The July Declaration aspires for state constitutional recognition of 2024 uprising. Top leaders from the major political parties, including BNP, Jamaat and National Citizen Party, joined the event at the South Plaza of the Jatiyo সংসদ. The program began with the playing of the national anthem. A video documentary was also screened. Meanwhile, the chief advisor is scheduled to address the nation at 8:20 p.m. on the occasion of July Mass Uprising Day. Meanwhile, thousands of students, activists marched peacefully through the streets of Dhaka today, marking the first anniversary of the mass student-led uprising that forced former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina to resign after 15 years in power. Chanting slogans for a better Bangladesh, the marchers commemorated what they called a turning point in the country's history with flags and banners in their hands. People want to ensure that such authoritarian attitudes and tendencies are never seen again, said the Kushtia district leader for the National Citizen Party, which was born out of the 2024 protests. The movement, initially sparked by demands for quota reform, escalated into a nationwide protest, resulting in over 1,000 deaths before Hasina stepped down and fled to India on August 5, 2024. Earlier on the day, Chief Advisor Dr. Muhammad Yunus vowed to stand against any form of oppression in a televised address to the nation, marking the first anniversary of deadly protests that ousted Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. In this speech, Yunus emphasized the importance to establish an accountable, humane, democratic and egalitarian state, a state that will always work for the welfare of its people. He also paid tribute to the martyrs, injured and disabled protesters, calling them the brightest sons of the nation. The chief advisor further said that the sacrifices of the heroes of the July Revolution will only be worthwhile when it is possible to build Bangladesh as a truly welfare-oriented country. BNP Acting Chairman Tariq Rahman says he is convinced that no one will be allowed to kill democracy and established fascism in Bangladesh. He made that remark in a video addressed to the nation on the anniversary of the July-August mass uprising. An unprecedented national unity against fascism has been established on the streets that are soaked in the blood of thousands of martyrs. Fascism will never take root in Bangladesh again. No one will be given the chance to kill democracy, he said. Bangladesh will never be allowed to become a subservient state again, added Tariq Rahman. He continued, every August 5th in the future should be a day of commitment to establishing democracy, good governance and becoming humane people.
বিভীষিকার রাজত্ব কায়েম করেছিল। গুম, খুন, অপহরণ, হামলা, মামলা, নির্যাতন, নিপীড়নকে সাধারণ।
Meanwhile, BNP Senior Joint Secretary General Ruhul Kabir Rizvi has slammed Information Advisor Mahfouz Alam's recent comment about the footsteps of 111 being hard, calling it childish and senseless. Speaking at a press conference at BNP's central office today, Rizvi said such statements from government officials are attempts to mislead public opinion and pursue hidden agendas. He added that remarks of this kind cannot be expected from someone in a responsible position. Rizvi also warned that fascism is trying to regain ground in different forms and demanded the immediate formation of a democratically elected government. Referring to the July 2015 events, Rizvi said the coup was part of a 16-year effort to establish democracy. He emphasized that reinstating democracy and conducting free and fair elections remain the government's primary responsibilities. On Monday, Mahfouz Alam posted on his verified Facebook page stating the footsteps of 111 are being hard. However, July will be victorious. The people's struggle will not be defeated. The post was taken down within hours and disappeared from the page by 10:15 p.m. Viewers, we are taking a short break. Stay with us. Welcome back. You are watching SATV News. News from abroad. 8 more Palestinians, including a child, have died due to Israeli-induced starvation over the past 24 hours, said Gaza health officials. Apart from the deaths due to starvation, an overnight Israeli strike on a tent killed at least 5 people. According to sources, an Israeli military ground campaign accompanied by very heavy fire from its air force and also from Israeli artillery units is underway in various parts of Gaza. Meanwhile, Israel is allowing just 86 trucks of aid into Gaza a day, a figure equal to just 14% of the minimum 600 trucks needed each day to meet the basic needs of the population. Israel's genocide on Gaza has killed at least 61,020 people and wounded 150,671 since October 7, 2023. Meanwhile, Canada said on Monday that the country delivered humanitarian assistance through airdrops to Gaza, with Ottawa again accusing Israel of violating international law. The Canadian Armed Forces employed a CC-130J Hercules aircraft to conduct an airdrop of critical humanitarian aid in support of Global Affairs Canada into the Gaza Strip. The airdrop consisted of 21,600 pounds of aid, the Canadian government said in a statement. It was Canadian Armed Forces' first humanitarian airdrop over Gaza using their own aircraft. The Israeli military said 120 food aid packages for Gaza's residents were airdropped by 6 countries, including Canada. The other 5 were Jordan, the United Arab Emirates, Egypt, Germany, and Belgium. Canada last week said it plans to recognize the state of Palestine at a meeting of the United Nations in September, ratcheting up pressure on Israel as starvation spreads in Gaza. Israelis protested outside the Prime Minister's office in Jerusalem on Monday, calling to end the war in Gaza, return all hostages under a comprehensive deal, and cancel the motion to sack the Attorney General. Protesters gathered outside Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office while the Israeli cabinet was set to vote on firing Attorney General Gali Baharav Miara. Protesters held photos of hostages and signs calling to end the war in Gaza. Pressure for a comprehensive ceasefire deal in Gaza to release all 50 hostages increased in recent days amid reports of suffering in Gaza as well as videos released by Palestinian militant groups of emaciated Israeli hostages. One person was killed and 10 people, including 2 children, were wounded early on Tuesday in Russia's largest air attack on the Ukrainian town of Lozova since the war began, said officials. The massive strike damaged a train station and other infrastructure in the town, a transport hub in the Kharkiv region bordering Russia, said state rail operator in a statement. Critical infrastructure, apartment buildings and private homes have been damaged, town council's head Serhiy Zelensky wrote on Telegram. Meanwhile, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said Russia struck civilian infrastructure in Lozova with more than 25 drones, damaging a depot and a station. Ukraine's Air Force downed 29 of 46 drones launched by Russia across the country overnight. US President Donald Trump on Monday said that he would substantially raise tariffs on India over its purchases of Russian oil. India is not only buying massive amounts of Russian oil, they are then, for much of the oil purchased, selling it on the open market for big profits. They do not care how many people in Ukraine are being killed by the Russian war machine, the US President said in a post on Truth Social. Due to this, tariff paid by India to the USA will be substantially raised. He, however, did not elaborate on what the tariff would be. Preliminary talks between Thailand and Cambodia defense officials started on Monday in Malaysia ahead of a key ministerial level meeting on Thursday as a fragile truce continues to hold a week after the two sides agreed on a ceasefire. Malaysian Armed Forces Chief General Muhammad Nizam Zafar said both parties are now in the final stages of a discussion over a proposed terms of reference and the formation of an interim defense attaché monitoring force, which would precede the establishment of a formal ASEAN monitoring team. United States and China will attend Thursday's GBC meeting as observers. The secretariat-level meeting, hosted at Wisma Perwira by the Malaysian Armed Forces, brings together 54 representatives from both countries in an effort to lay the groundwork for lasting stability after weeks of deadly border clashes. The worst fighting between the Southeast Asian neighbors in over a decade included exchanges of artillery fire and jet fighter sorties, claiming at least 43 lives and leaving over 300,000 people displaced on both sides of the border. Brazil's Supreme Court on Monday issued a house arrest order for former President Jair Bolsonaro, who is standing trial for allegedly plotting a coup in a move that could escalate tensions with the administration of US President Donald Trump. Justice Alexander de Moraes said in his decision that the right-wing firebrand did not comply with judicial restraining orders imposed on him last month. Moraes also banned Bolsonaro from receiving visits, with exceptions for lawyers and people authorized by the court, and use of a cell phone either directly or through third parties. The restrictions on Bolsonaro were imposed over allegations that he courted the interference of Trump, who recently tied steep new tariffs on Brazilian goods to what he called a witch hunt against Bolsonaro. The former Brazilian leader is facing charges that he conspired with dozens of his allies to overturn his 2022 electoral loss. Hundreds of Lebanese gathered near Beirut's coast on Monday to commemorate a half-decade since the cataclysmic port blast of 2020, when more than 200 people were killed in one of the largest non-nuclear explosions in history. Carrying Lebanese flags and portraits of some of the victims, many of those standing said they felt deeply disappointed that no one has been held to account for the devastating explosion. The blast destroyed large swaths of Beirut, leaving tens of thousands of people homeless. The names of all those killed were read out as protesters stood facing the wreckage of the Beirut grain silos, which were heavily damaged in the blast and continued to deteriorate and collapse for years after. Now, sports. Bangladesh is set to host the Netherlands for the very first time in a bilateral T20I series. The three-match series will be hosted at Sylhet International Cricket Stadium from August 30th. This is the first time the Netherlands will tour Bangladesh for a T20 international series. The Dutch team will arrive on August 26th and have 3 days of training before stepping onto the field for the opening match. The first match will begin at Sylhet International Cricket Stadium on August 30th, followed by a second T20 match on September the 1st and a third match on September 3rd. Bangladesh indeed have had the upper hand in their previous encounters, winning 4 out of 5 T20 internationals played between the two nations. The two teams last came face-to-face against each other at the 2024 T20 World Cup, when Bangladesh grabbed a 25-run victory to remain alive in the competition. For the Netherlands, this tour is a great opportunity to get used to subcontinent conditions and gain experience playing against a full member nation. The last time they played in Bangladesh was during the 2014 T20 World Cup. Before ending, we go through the headlines again. Chief Advisor reads out July declaration. The declaration aspires for state constitutional recognition of 2024 uprising. Thousands join rallies marking July Uprising Day today, a year since former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina's ouster. Bangladesh won't let fascism supplant democracy again, says Tariq Rahman. Country won't be allowed to become a subservient state again. You're updated with our top stories so far here on SATV. And to know the latest news, visit www.satv.tv. Stay with SATV.